Well, the conflict broke out in Tigray a year ago. Since then, the region has been dealing with multiple crises, including the displacement of civilians and a severe shortage of food. Gao Yiming has the story.
Fear and hunger all over war-torn Tigray, as fierce fighting sinks the region into an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. 5,000 local civilians are struggling with life on the brink of famine. Food, fuel, and medicines are rapidly running out. Children are starving. The UN estimates nearly 20,000 have been admitted to hospitals for treatment.
The doctors tell me she's malnourished. We were wandering in the wilderness, and my daughter was sick, and I was terrified for her.
He's wounded because of war, and he's also suffering from lack of food.
In Tigray's rural areas, life is just as grim, as thousands of people survive on wild cactus fruit or sell the meager aid they receive. The continuous fighting between government forces and the TPLF has left thousands dead and displaced more than 2 million people from their homes. A United Nations report says all sides of the Tigray conflict could have committed severe war crimes, which is marked by extreme brutality, including torture and rape. A witness recounts the horror.
I saw the junta and then ran away. I watched from the mountain as they burned my house. Some children were killed, some were saved. I brought the survivors back.
The UN's top human rights chief has called for those responsible to be held accountable for the atrocities.
Civilians in Tigray have been subjected to brutal violence and suffering. The Joint Investigation Team uncovered numerous violations and abuses, including unlawful killings and extrajudicial executions, torture, sexual and gender-based violence, violations against refugees, and forced displacement of civilians.
The revelations came a day after the Ethiopian government declared a 6-month state of emergency on Tuesday, as the TPLF forces advanced toward the capital Addis Ababa after claiming more territory. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has urged citizens to take up arms to defend themselves against the TPLF. And Addis Ababa authorities are vowing to defend the city against the rebel forces.
We are not a generation that spoils history. My generation and I will all march to the battlefield to overcome that challenge. There is no victory without sacrifice.
The fighting in Tigray began just over a year ago. Back on November the 4th last year, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ordered a military offensive against regional forces in Tigray. He said the move was in response to an attack launched by the Tigray People's Liberation Front on the military base housing government troops in the region. The power struggle followed controversial reforms ordered by Ahmed. They were opposed by the TPLF, sparking a series of armed clashes. Neighboring Eritrea also joined the conflict. By the end of November 2020, Ahmed told parliament that operations in Tigray had ended and his soldiers were in control of the capital Mekelle. But the rebels fought back. Tigrayan forces regained Mekelle on June the 29th this year, and they pushed south and west into land claimed by the neighboring Amhara region in mid-July. On October the 11th, the Ethiopian government launched another major offensive aimed at pushing Tigrayan forces out of the Amhara and Afar regions. The international community has been calling for a ceasefire, but it would take more than diplomatic efforts to bring peace. Gao Yiming, CGTN.